online audience, my live audience to make up the other three. As Winston Churchill once said, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. This quote is as true as the day he said it in front of the British House of Commons. For if we don't learn from the mistakes we've made, we'll continue to make them into the future. A good example of this that can correlate with what's going on right now goes back to the halfway point for World War I when the US joined up. Due to the fact we joined into a war against Germany, a lot of anti-German sentiment started building up. As the war went on, things of culture or words started disappearing or being replaced, people being pushed to the side or ostracized. And as such, they looked for a place to belong. So they looked to people like them, or almost like them. So they looked back at Germany, being strong, rebuilding after being crushed under. And being persecuted, they joined an ideology that is considered then and now one of the most horrifying to have existed, simply because it gave them a sense of belonging. Bring that to modern days, a lot of people, due to the quagmire that is politics and its invasion of everything social, a lot of people have joined extremist ideologies simply as a sense of belonging, because we're still pushing them away, still looking for the simplest things to latch onto and make an enemy, leaving some people a feeling of no choice but to join with these vile beliefs, politics, faith, or otherwise. And the only another example of history dealing with something equivalent was disease. Historically, since many of us are avid studies of history in this group, the Black Death. The Jewish communities were persecuted because they seemed least affected. In their case, it was because of sanitation. Nowadays, with the coronavirus, it's persecution of people of Asian descent due to the fact of where the first cases were reported. Since there was nothing to attack or a face to apply to it, we looked for a face to apply to the disease, which has led to hate, distrust, division, and creating an opening of old wounds, for no other reason than fear, because we've once again gone back to the same mistakes of the past. It also studying history also allows us to show us what has worked and has not in politics and just governance. A good example of that, still on the topic of the regulations to help stop the first spread, going back to San Francisco. Let's see if I can actually find the date I wrote down. 1826, Spanish flu outbreak. They're one of the cities with the most stringent quarantine requirements, the masks and all that. But a photographer caught a picture of some of the governor officials being lax about it at a sporting event because they just wanted to feel human, which led to a lot of people losing faith in the masks, the government, and the medical people telling them what to do, leading to people arguing disinformation, distrust, which has happened nowadays. Some politicians just wanting to feel normal and human got together at a restaurant, weren't distancing, weren't following their own rules, because it was breaking them. We need to learn rules need to be done, but they need to be able to apply to everyone. Because if some people can't follow it fully, and it's unnecessary, it can do a lot of damage and a lot of distrust. Another good example of this are, I think the best term to describe them are moral laws. Effectively, going to use some more famous examples in the US, the multiple times recreational activities have been banned because a small number of people got a moral hair up their rump. Booze, and in some cases, banning, prohibition, led to spiraling out of control, legislation, crime, with one of the more famous examples, the whole booze runners, massacres, all that. Pulling that to modern things, as much as the whole small quantities of recreational marijuana. I don't care where you stand on that. That isn't the purpose of my speech, but it's the couple of moral people deciding as a whole to ban what a couple of people are recreations and drawing a lot more attention to it, making it more unstable, interesting. Fringe, something that isn't normal. making it attractive. This is still a problem we have today of fringe ideologies of people with moral busybodies ending up in politics or other things, believing since they've made it to that position, they are superior and have a right to push these ideologies on others, which, as has been proven before, just leads to division, crime, and distrust amongst neighbors. If we know our past, we can better shape our future. If we learn from the past laws that cannot be enforced equally, we need to figure out how to make them work so they aren't crushing everybody, but can still do their thing. Prevent the spread or prevent harm from accidents, do like this, but make them so they can be followed by every person. The avoiding making every enemy have a face, make everything seem like an enemy. Try to understand it, shape it, and deal with it, not just ascribe it to a face and then attack all those that look like or have that face, because they can't control it. Nobody's responsible for the plagues, it just happens. The hate, the origins, faith out of control, it just leads to damage. We need to learn to draw that in. And on top of that, the morality laws. They started out in good intentions, cut down on abuse of substances. But a couple people that didn't like these substances abused them and took them out of proportion, just to force their own ideology and gain power. We need to keep these in mind, to watch for ideology, and respect the rights of people, for they are all people created equally. And it doesn't matter if you disapprove or approve somebody taking a puff or a stiff drink on a Saturday night to unwind. For at the end of the day, we all have life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I'm not here to change your mind on any of these topics. I just hope I convinced some of you to look into history so we can stop making these mistakes. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Good night.